Let's confirm, shall we, the match stats of the opening game for Greg Berhalter's side. US were dominant completely in the first half against a lacklustre Wales side who got things together after the break, put in more of a fight than we saw in the opening period. And in the end, you would argue it's the US who are hanging on, but in the end, it finishes 1 apiece. We welcome from Qatar, Sebastian Salazar joins us, but we'll go to Sebi a bit later on. Casey, I want to start with you. How are you feeling?
I feel okay, simply because that's what I kind of expected. I expected Wales to soak up some pressure.
But after the first half,
No. I know that, but I also expected a response from Wales in the second half because there's no way they could be that bad for 2 halves. That they went into halftime and went, guys, what the heck is going on here? We are much better than this. Kiefer Moore comes in, completely changes the game for them. But then I think the other issue that I think is going to be an issue as this tournament progresses for Greg Berhalter is the amount of players in that starting 11 with really a lack of true match fitness.
Right.
And I think we saw that as that game progressed, that when you need those guys to grind, and you look at this lineup and you know that Way is coming off an injury, McKinney's coming off an injury, Dest is coming off an injury, Moose is coming off an injury, Pulisic's only playing a bit part role for Chelsea, and now the adrenaline of the first half, where you play so well, it's your first time in the World Cup for everyone except for DeAndre Yedlin, who came on, and you're like, we're 1-0 up, we're comfortably in this game. Now you come out halftime and Wales makes the adjustments and you don't have that reserve knowing that I can grind, that I can fight my way through things. Yes, a couple players are in that, but a lot of players just, you saw, they just did not have the match fitness that they needed to fight through it.
You feel they should have taken much more advantage of that opening 45 minutes?
I thought, bearing in mind, it was a World Cup stage, I thought the US were superb in the first half. I mean, technically, so much more superior than Wales. I mean, embarrassingly so.
Yeah.
The way they passed it and controlled it and picked up the second balls and then went wide again. Pulisic found some space. I thought the goal was a terrific goal because Sargent held it up. Pulisic made that run inside. And then young Nico Williams, who just switched off for a second, and Tim Weah made a great run. Unlike Casey, I didn't actually think Wales were going to get much better because I knew they would make changes, but I thought, this team's so bad. They sit and they soak up pressure, and that's how they've qualified. They don't know how to play another way. But clearly, as Casey said, the more... Look, Dan James was supposed to run in behind. He didn't. Gareth Bale couldn't move. He had his moments in the game, but he couldn't move. They needed somebody else because to play through a press, you've either, to get around the press, you either got to play through it with technical players, which they couldn't do, or you got to play in behind, in the channel, and somebody's going to hold the ball up. That's what Kiefer Moore did. They were able to hit the ball in the channel, they were able to squeeze up a little bit, and he was able to hold the ball up, and it took a bit of pressure off Bale. Because Bale, Frank, was trying to hold... They were throwing balls up to Bale. He's like the Tin Man, because he hasn't played. He can't really move, although he did have his moments in the penalty. And it was coming straight back. And so the US were so on top. But the big question mark is, and on the commentary they kept mentioning this, was how would this team react in adversity? And unfortunately, what they saw in the second half is going to come in bucket loads against England. And they didn't handle it very well.
It's a stupid penalty to give away.
It is, but I'm not sure that he sees Bale coming to him. You know, I think he reacts that suddenly he sees him and tries to kick the ball out, and it's too late. Yeah, after that, when you see that, it's stupid. But I will go with the guys. You know, I think in order to win a game, especially in a World Cup, you have to finish the opponents. You have to score another goal to make sure you secure, even if you concede one. And they never did. The second half, Wales came back, and football is made of details, and a penalty, and you are back to the business, and you have to suffer for the 10 minutes. It's sad for United States because they deserve to win overall, I would say, but that's part of football. It's not because you are dominant that you're going to win.
Who are you blaming, Seb?
Well, I'm not surprised that Frank Leboeuf is backing a defender. That was a terrible challenge from Walker Zimmerman. I'm shocked that Casey Keller feels okay about that game. This is a blown opportunity. It is very, very rare that the United States would boss a game like that in the first half and even into the second half. Fine, it's 1-0. Wales is throwing the kitchen sink at you. They've made a change. But Walker Zimmerman, what are you doing there? Gareth Bale's going away from goal. There's no need to do it. And the fact that it's Zimmerman, he's one of the most experienced guys on this team. Throughout qualifying, he's been the rock in the center of that defense. The question was about who would start next to Walker Zimmerman. I think it's just a terrible mistake that really cost the United States what would have been 3 points. And when you look at what happened in the other game, England racking up 6, that's who you got to play next. This is a blown opportunity. There's no way that you can feel just okay about this.
Did you boss a game where the other team drops off into their own half with 11 guys, lets you have a bunch of possession, and you get one shot on goal? I'm sorry, I can't look at a game and go, I got killed, and I had one shot, and they scored on their one shot, and that was it. Where was Hennessy flying around the goal, making saves? The one save he had to make was from his own guy who heads a ball back and hits him in the chest. That's his only save.
You look at the stats, it's not about possession, it's about what Wales did in the final third. And Zimmerman and Ream were smoking a cigar in the first half.
Yeah.
And Rob Page went, I'm not having that. Let's get the big fella on. Let's throw the ball up there. He held it up brilliantly at times, and they got up and supported, and all of a sudden the centre-halves were under pressure. Turner was having to make saves. And it's not just the Zimmerman challenge, because everybody can make a rash challenge, and it just happens in a split second like that.
No, not for Sebastian.
And, you know...
he's got full Sebastian.
Frank,
well, you're under,
please.
You have to play to
you're under that pressure, and you just go, and then you can see by his face. But it wasn't just that, it was a quick throw-in.
Yeah.
They allowed the quick throw-in from the Welsh down the side, over the top, Aaron Ramsey in behind, just switching off. And that's the worry, that going into this England game now, what's the mood? Because some great stuff, some not so good stuff. And if you think Wales will get at you, you think about Harry Kane coming short if he's fit, and Sterling running in behind, and Mount running in behind, and Bellingham running in behind. Those are things that Wales never really hurt them with, certainly in the first half. So there's a lot of questions for the US. The one thing I would say, you have to take the positive from the first 45, the way they controlled the game.
Right.
The negative for me was how they were all looking round, and as Casey said, the other negative was guys were looking a little tired, some of them.
And of course, leading onto that conversation with the substitutes that we saw Greg Berhalter make, because a lot of people were asking, well, where was Gio Reyna? And it was something we got some answers to actually after the game. Jeff Carlisle, obviously there for ESPN, was tweeting about what both parties said. Let's start off showing you what Greg Berhalter said. He said basically, in the phase of the game we were at, with Jordan, we felt we could get speed and power. He then continued saying, Berhalter, if we were trying to get him up to speed, there was some tightness we were guarding against. That was in the scrimmage that we saw earlier on this week. And then Gio Reyna comes out and says, look, I'm 100% and I'm good to go. I'm sure Berhalter's happy that he's heard that from Gio Reyna.
One second, I just don't, sorry Seb, one second, I just don't envisage a team like the US who have some good players who don't see a place when you're under pressure for a fit Gio Reyna to come in. And he's quite a big lad. He's bigger than you think. He can take the ball for a run. He can take the ball and keep the ball because of his quality. I just don't see a place where he doesn't come into a game unless you think you're going to lose him for the next 2.
But it wasn't for a long period of the match either, was it? You know, it was for 25...
15, 20 minutes to come in. And
even with the added time.
Yeah.
You look at it overall, Sebi, did Berhalter drop the ball here?
Yeah, I think he did. Let's talk about Jordan Morris specifically. For me, if this was a 23-man roster, Jordan Morris wouldn't be on it. I'm kind of surprised that he's on it, even though it's a 26-man roster. I didn't think he would play in this tournament at all. Gio Reyna absolutely has to play in this game, and that's probably not the only thing we can criticize Greg Berhalter for in that second half. You got to give Rob Page all the credit. He makes the adjustment at the half. Clearly, that's a game-changing move. Greg Berhalter waits, till the 65th minute to make his first sub, And even then, the changes that he made didn't really seem to impact the match. I think Wales only continued to grow into the match after those changes. So for me, you can look at all of the changes that he made, specifically the fact that he left out Gio Reyna. And it's also something that's kind of counter to what we've seen from Berhalter in the past. He struggled to get the right starting lineup. I think he nails that today. He's been a second-half coach throughout qualifying. Today, clearly, Rob Page had his number in that second 45 minutes.
Did he sit on his hands too much today?
Well, I think he has enough confidence in the squad. And I think because of the fitness issues with so many players, I think there was an idea that there's going to be a level of rotation anyway. I would not be surprised if Gio starts in the next game. I wouldn't be surprised if Aronson starts in the next game. It looked like McKennie was struggling with his thigh. That was the reason why he wasn't playing for Juve for the last several weeks. Musa was clearly struggling at the end of the game with, hopefully it was just cramps, but we'll see from there as well. So it would not surprise me if it was a situation where there was 6 or 7 changes going into the England game.
McKennie was worrying me with his challenges.
Well, got booked, obviously, in the first half.
Yeah, and I saw Tyler Adams get sent off against Tottenham last game out for something similar. And I thought he was terrific today.
Yeah, he was excellent.
Positions himself really well, gets in, toe pokes one away. Actually, the booking at the end, when Gareth Bale was about to have a ping at the goal, the booking at the end, which wasn't Tyler Adams' booking, but if you looked at the shot, he was right on the scene to make a challenge anyway.
Yeah, Kellen Acosta read that well.
Yeah, he
kind
took
of jump on his
Acosta.
back.
Yeah, but if he doesn't take it, actually there's a shot where Adams is there, and that's kind of epitomised his performance. But a couple of them, whether it's fitness or not, were playing on the edge with their challenges.
Right.
You're just playing on the edge, and you know some of these referees are a little nervous. It's a big stage for them as well, and so that plays into it too, as well as the injuries.
Which team plays England?
England play the US.
England play the USA next, and then
game.
England play Wales next.
So there is, as Casey think, I think Mr. Berhalter has a thought about that, and he has to. But I think he wants to have the best team against England and try to get the best out of it, because he knows. Well, he expects to win against Iran.
Right.
But if you lose against England, and you have, of course, Wales winning against Iran, you don't know what's going to be the team Wales going to play against England. It's going to be a second team,
right.
We call the bench team. So maybe they're going to draw or win. So it's very important, the next game. So maybe it's why maybe Reyna didn't play. It's why maybe he wanted to rest some other players to make sure that he has a very competitive team against England.
If you want to win the game, though, and I know you've got a few injuries and a few knocks, a few tired legs, a few changes. If you want to win the game, and that's the whole ethos of it, you put your best players on. You put Gio Reyna on if he's fit. You put him on.
Yeah.
10 minutes, 15 minutes. He's playing at that. He's one of the players that's playing at the highest level. I know he's had injuries. It's a bit like England struggling at the end of a game, which they didn't today, and leaving Phil Foden on the bench and putting on somebody who just scraped into the squad at the last second. You'd be sitting going, why the hell didn't they bring him on? He's a game changer. And so I think that's one of the questions that will be asked is, you know, Gio Reyna must be sitting there thinking, you know, people talk about Pulisic, but I think I'm the best player in this squad.
Yes. Yeah.
Even
and he's got something about Gio Reyna. I feel he's got that leader quality, hasn't he? He goes on the pitch, and you just feel that he can lift and galvanise.
I remember watching one of the first games he came on for Dortmund, and you're always thinking of a young player coming into a squad and saying, what I don't want to be is I don't want to be blamed for losing a ball. So I'm going to play everything quick,
safe,
and backwards and square. And I watched the first touch as he skates around somebody and attacks and then plays a ball through, and I'm going, ooh, that's something special, because that's really, really difficult. You can't teach that. You have that body awareness, that ability with that first touch. That game was screaming for that.
Right.
Particularly as Wales started to push a few more players forward. If you could then get that first touch, put 2 or 3 Wales players behind you, scare them into thinking, well, wait a minute. We're not even sure if we fought back to get a point. Now let's pack it in and make sure we don't throw it away. And the US didn't have that response.
The interesting thing will be whether the US adopt the exact same way of playing against England.
They can't.
It's horses for courses here. I mean, They know Wales are not a possession team. You can look at all the qualifying games. They're not going to win any awards for entertainment. They don't have the playing squad for that. They actually, it was a pretty decent game in the second half today. It wasn't a match in the first half.
No.
It just wasn't.
It's one-way traffic.
But, you know, the question is, do you try and play that pressing game, picking up all those scraps and second balls against England? Or do you just... I mean, how coy is Greg Berhalter going to be? Is he saying, well, OK, like, we don't want to... Sterling's going to run behind, Kane's going to drop in, Tyler Adams is going to have to... Well, he's going to have to keep an eye on Kane. So, you know, there's so many subplots now. And he could have been a lot more cautious had they seen this game out.
Right.
Yeah.
But, I mean, all these other games going on.
Look at the player for player. And, you know, you just mentioned it. You know, obviously Gareth Bale at one stage was that guy. But if you look at Ramsey and Bale and obviously James didn't do what we thought he could do. Now you throw in Saka and Sterling and Kane and Bellingham, and there's a little different level of dynamic running with and without the ball that defense is going to have to deal with for the U.S. that they did not see even in the second half when Wales were good. So you can't go into that game and open up and say, we're going to be progressive and get numbers forward. I think you got to come in conservative, but not so conservative of what we saw from Wales in the first half. You got to find a good balance.
Do you know, sorry, Frank, just quickly. I kept watching that first half and thinking, and the moment came. I thought, if a moment doesn't come for Gareth Bale, it's a waste of time. If they don't create a moment, or he doesn't have a moment, it's almost like a passenger.
Yeah, he brings nothing else.
No. And they had the moment, and a couple of moments, and he actually walked back in the second half. But if they don't get those little moments in the game, he's not contributing anything else.
I just wish his penalty was a bit more convincing.
Well, that was very convincing.
I thought Turner was a bit unlucky, by the way.
He went the right way.
Just because it was
He was
smashed.
very frustrated after the
I thought he was going to chip it.
But he put the power needed.
Yeah.
And that was just what I wanted to say. I think because you play the World Cup, the next two games are going to be very interesting because, you know, everybody's going to play for their pride. There is something behind those two games, you know, and I'm talking for the US team, where you play against England, and you know that you have to show the best, and mentally you will have to be up for it, otherwise you're gonna be smashed by England. And after you play Iran, and you know that's kind of a big game.
It's political.
It's political.
Very
it's geopolitical,
yeah.
And it's also kind of a revenge from '98. So that's a tough group stage.
Well, and Iran are better. They have better players than we saw today. I think they conceded that first goal.
Where were they?
Well,
on the bench, I think.
Well, one of them was, but I'm just saying.
Yeah.
But I think what happened was they conceded that first goal, and there was too much pride.
Yeah.
And you got to say what we saw from Wales today. Right. Okay, we conceded a goal. We'll keep it at 1-0. We'll make some adjustments, and we'll find a way to get... Iran went, no, let's go forward. Let's do this.
Yeah.
Bam, bam, bam.
Yeah.
Okay, and it's over.
We'll talk about that game in a moment. Seb was coughing. I'm not sure clearing his throat or reminding us that he was still there.
I think it was the latter.
It's late. It's late in Doha.
Seb, he doesn't mind, does he?
Listen, come on, Seb, give us a bit of positivity.
Right, Seb, I want to ask you percentage chance now the US get through.
51. 51. But I think you guys keep talking about this England game. Yeah, you keep talking about this England game, and that's why blowing the lead late is such a big problem. If you get the 3 points against Wales, you go into that England game, and you can take a much more open approach if you want. You can try to play England toe for toe, and if you get blown out, if they drop 6 or 4 or 5 on you, as they did against Iran, it's not that big a problem because you got the 3 points in the bag. Now I think Greg Berhalter is forced in this game against England to go in very, very conservatively because you don't want to ship a lot of goals, knowing, as you guys said, that Wales won't be shipping goals, and they may actually get an England team in that final game that's resting players for the knockout stages.
Seb, we'll let you go. How is rooming with Nadem? How would you describe you, Seb?
Does he snore?
No, Natum is literally an angel. He's the best roommate. I've left my keys in the door like 6 times already, and he just quietly hands them in and doesn't say that I'm creating a security problem for him. So
Amazing
I
how
also left my stuff all over his room the first day we got in.
It's amazing how all our little partnerships, Herkinsey,
Little.
Gab and Joe. It's amazing how they've all just ditched each other.
I know. Everyone has been split up.
You know, they play the old nicey when they're on air. They get to Doha,
and that's
they
it.
want to room with each other.
All right, well, Seb, I hope you've got your keys because they were back to the room.
Herc's got it in his contract.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN+.